Welcome to the Bougie Black Brother Network. Good evening and welcome to Fade to Black Cinema. I'm Michael, your Bougie Black Brother, and I'm here with my co-host Alicia.
Hello.
And since we're over the holidays, we were checking out a couple of films that we normally would check out either on HBO or Netflix, Hulu, or Amazon. And one of the recommendations of our granddaughter was, you need to see this movie called Bird Box. And I saw it released early in December. And the rumors and everything was going out. It was similar to A Quiet Place. Did you hear that, Leash?
Yes, I heard that.
Yeah, so I was kind of like, oh boy, because we love The Quiet Place. We thought that was such a creative way of doing a movie. And I was actually telling my son, if you was at the movie seeing that, if you felt that everyone had to be quiet, because even the people in the audience wanted to be quiet, because they felt like if we say something, the monsters will come out, and it gave you that whole feel. So when they said this movie was coming out, I was like, oh boy, somebody's trying to copy this. But this was actually a book by the same name, Bird Box, that was written in 2014 by Josh Malerman. Malerman, Malerman, Josh Malerman. And he wrote that, and they took that and said, we can make a movie out of that. And it was such a great concept, but I didn't want it to be like A Quiet Place. But when we started sitting down and watching it, we found that it was similar, not like. There's a difference. To me, you can have a similar type of movie, but not trying to copy off it. Did you get that after you saw the whole thing?
Yeah, I did.
So initially, when we first opened up, when the scene opened up, and there was Sandra Bullock is the main actress on here. So I really like her now because she has become a really good actress. I think she was overrated at a certain time, and they was kind of pigeonholing her into certain kind of movies. So you didn't really know how good she was. But I think over the last, almost 10 years, she's been standing out doing some really great emotional movies.
This been very selective.
Yeah.
She's
so
been very,
it may have
selective.
been her, though, to your point. So what did you think of this movie? What was your thoughts of this, baby?
At first I was, like you said, when they talk about Berber, I looked at it like, or whatever. But I knew Sandra Bullock was in there, and I just thought, okay, she just, just doing another movie. Probably wasn't gonna be that good.
Right.
And then when I started watching it, it became very interesting. They're going along their normal day. Something just all of a sudden happened, and with that happening, you just start people see. Just things just happening, little things just happening. And I love the way they did it. They didn't go into explaining what the creature was. It was going,
where it came from.
Yes. It was all about nobody knew where it came from.
Right.
Okay. It just came out of nowhere, which is cool because you don't see too many stories doing that. Like if it just came out of nowhere, nobody knows, and they just had to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. I really liked it, that storyline.
So one of the things that I kind of took it like, because remember when we were seeing The Handmaid's Tale?
Yes.
You jumped in and these women were handmaidens.
Yes.
And then when they showed how it happened, it seems as though it took a big turn on, disrespecting women and having women in a certain way. Mm-hmm. It was like, how the fuck did this happen? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then they gave you a little bit. And then later on in the series, they show how it kind of built up to that. But that was a series. But with this, and like a lot of movies, people don't like that when you don't tell them how things happen. People say, oh, that was stupid. I don't even know how that happened. I mean, you even criticize certain movies because you was like, I needed to know more. I just needed to know more.
Right. Right.
But this movie, it was about her. It was about how her life was and how her relationship with people and how she didn't think that a child is important in a person's life.
Right. Exactly.
And even though her relationships were shaky, and then she had a relationship with one of the guys, it was about these children. So real quick, here's the synopsis. This film follows a woman who is Sandra Bullock, who along with a pair of children dubbed boy and girl, which was weird as hell, make it through a forest and a river blindfolded to avoid a supernatural entities that take the appearance of the victim's worst fears, regrets, and losses that causes them to die by suicide. So that was one part. The other part was these people, as it was starting to occur in that city, because they showed at the beginning that it was in another town, in another city, in another country. Mm-hmm. It was happening. But all of a sudden, it got to them. They didn't say how it got there. They didn't say where it was coming. But it started in the hospital because Sandra Bullock was pregnant.
Right.
So as her sister picked her up, and then all of a sudden, her sister saw something. Or one of the creatures appeared in front of her. And so she crashed the car. And when she crashed the car, Sandra Bullock got out and said, like, what's wrong with you? And she heard her whispering, yes, mom, and blah, blah, blah. And she got into a burning car and burned herself to death.
Her sister walked in front of a bus.
Oh, she walked in front of a bus.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself.
It's all right, baby.
Yeah.
It's all right. Normally it shows, in a movie, it shows somebody who's like a superhero or somebody who's smarter than the creature or something with many guns and figure it out and try to go to the government to try to solve the problem by eliminating these creatures.
Yeah.
So this one is totally different. This one goes to looking at an individual who has no idea what the problem is and actually is trying to survive.
Yeah. She doesn't care about it.
Exactly. That's made it different.
Yeah. So she didn't try to solve the mystery of who these creatures are and who they came from. She was kind of like, the hell with that.
How do we live?
How do I live?
Yes. And
the way I live is to be protected.
Yeah.
So go ahead. You finish your thought, though.
No, but to me, that's what made this a good movie. This is what made it good, because I haven't seen movies like this where it look at the person who's surviving. She was an artist. That's it. Nothing else.
Yep.
And all she was trying to do was survive. She was smart. Everybody knew to cover your eyes. That's it. That's all she had to do to survive. And she had to be smart about it because she really had to figure it out.
And it was cool because I'm going to fast forward and I'm going into a whole lot of details. But she got into a house with a whole bunch of people. And John Malkovich was in there with his crazy ass. And he's just crazy as ever. But if you know John Malkovich, that's who he was. But they was trying to figure out how do they go get food because they was running out of food. Mm-hmm. They wanted to find out how to get away or whatever. But one of the things the guy said is surveillance cameras. And he said, obviously, these creatures or whatever, you should be able to not see what they're doing on camera. So it shouldn't be a problem. And the regular thought would be, exactly, because this is just a replication of just an image of who's doing it as opposed to psychologically getting into your mind. Mm-hmm. But guess what? It got to him anyway. And he killed himself by looking at the film. And I was like, damn, how the fuck do you get away from these people?
Well, actually, he hit his head on the table.
but he was trying to kill himself.
Right,
though.
and that's how he killed himself.
But he killed himself by rocking the chair back and forth because they tied him to the chair just in case, if
he tried to kill himself.
Yeah, but it didn't
He
work
did,
because it smashed his brains in. So, like Alicia was saying, what made this so crazy was there wasn't no cure. There wasn't anyone saying, we know what's causing this, or at the end, this is what's going to happen. It doesn't say that. There's nothing to say this is how you fight them off, other than avoiding them.
Yeah, yeah,
and
exactly.
that was kind of crazy too, because you're right. There was no hero thing. The only hero was the woman who wanted to take care of her children, and one of the children wasn't hers. One of the children was the other pregnant woman that was in the house with them. And she promised to take care of her child. And she took care of her child and the other woman's child. So she had 2 children. And since she's not good with relationships, she didn't want to name them. So she would be, well, if I name them, then I'm responsible and I have a bond with them. I don't want to bond with these 2 children.
Because she don't feel like she didn't think that they would survive.
Yeah, so I can't care for them like that. So I'm just going to say that's the boy and that's the girl. And I was like, damn, that's kind of cruel.
Right. That was interesting because right when the kids were born, I was curious. Did she gave them names? Because she never mentioned that, never talked to them like that. She didn't, when she was standing there talking to them, she didn't say their names.
Nope. Not at all.
I mean, that was like, okay, do they have a name?
Yeah, so the only people who actually survived was Sandra Bullock and the guy Trevante Rose, and he played on Moonlight. He was one of the main actors on Moonlight
and Predator,
and the Predator, the newest one. So he was on those. So he's becoming, for me, he's a good actor though. It's really good. He needs to go back to doing not just his action shit, but he's just a really good emotional actor. So he needs some. But for 5 years, they stayed together with the 2 children. And Chell, someone on the radio said, I have sanctuary and it's safe here. If you can get past, if you can go down this river, and there's some rapids around that area, and you got to be careful because you have to take your blindfold off to get through the rapids. And so they was debating, should they go, should they not go? And one of the things, which was crazy too, this was a whole nother twist too. People that were fucking crazy didn't kill themselves. People who had psychological issues did not kill themselves. But they made others see what they see.
Yes, that's what they did.
So people from the insane asylum, people who was mentally like criminals, they went around trying to find people so they can show them what they see. So in their minds, with their twisted mind, it was a good thing. Because since I'm fucking crazy as hell, I want you to see it because then you'll be happy like me. But if you don't, then we're going to have to kill you.
Right.
So that was kind of odd. So the fears of someone with a psychological issues didn't become a fear. It became almost like a revelation, like, everything's good now. But now I want everybody else to do it. So that was a twist. So as they went around, they couldn't just walk around and avoid these creatures, but they had to walk around and avoid the people who was trying to kill them and the people who tried to make them see the creatures as well. So they had to avoid all of that.
Right.
So that's how one of them got killed. I mean, that's why a majority of the people in the house got killed, because they let one person in. And then one of the other persons, there was a group of them going through the town. Remember that? In the cars?
Yeah.
Crazy bastards was going in the car. So they finally showed up at the house, and
Tom.
Yeah. Tom.
Which is
that's Trevante?
Yeah, Trevante.
Yeah, so he actually saved her so they can get into the raft and go from that. So it was a series of flashbacks.
Now that was nice too.
Flashbacks of her on the river, flashbacks on different things, and it made it kept it from being boring, and not just her helping her children on the boat, telling them what to do. And they was on the boat for what, 30 something odd hours, almost 48 hours.
48 hours, yeah.
Yeah, so it almost had to take 2 days to get down there. And then they lost the food as well. And then they got off the boat and found some food, but got back on. And then they finally got to the rapids. And she told the 2 children, hey, one of y'all have to take your blindfold off.
Yeah, to give me direction.
They said, I'll do it. And then her son, her actual son, was like, no, I'll do it. And she said, no, I'll choose. And
the little
girl was like, I'll do it. And she was like, I'll make the decision. No one's going to do it. And it was so cool. The little girl was just so adorable. She wanted Sandra Bullock to like her, not just even love her. She wanted her to like her. So every time she was yelling at them, you just see her like, okay, but she was always wanted to help. And you saw that the little girl was just, it was bothering her.
Yes, it was. You can
tell. See that in that child.
Because when Tom was telling them, he was telling the kids about the trees and how you can climb the trees and you can go on the beach and then she told them they need to go to bed, and the little girl just looked at her like,
damn.
Yeah. And she kept telling her, you need to go to bed, and she would not move.
And she was defiant because she was like, why do you keep treating me like this? And she didn't, but they didn't say much, but their actions, you can see it within the children. The children played really well without saying much. So what they made them do method acting, basically show your feelings through your actions or your inactions. And that's what the children, and you really felt for the little girl, because a portion in the movie, the little girl just walked away.
Yep.
And when she walked away, she almost gave up. And her son was like, she doesn't think you like her. And she was like, what? And she yelled out to her because what these creatures would do, they'll whisper to you, like, take it off. It's safe. It's safe. And they sound like somebody who they know. So it makes you feel more familiar to do something in that way. But overall, it was very, very interesting. It wasn't great, though. And even though we talking like, wow, how exciting this was, it wasn't really great. It was some missing things in there that would have probably made it a lot more interesting.
But
I think the director sped through some things that he shouldn't have sped through.
Yeah, like the house that we're in, they had a lake behind it or a river behind it. Because I didn't know that.
You didn't know.
Yeah, because it looked like it was a different house.
And they couldn't move to another one, but you don't know that,
right?
Because he sped through some things.
Yeah.
To the director tried to do that.
I like the ending.
Yeah,
the ending was the great twist.
Yeah, and it was the right kind of ending. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If there was going to be an ending for them to be safe, you didn't have to cure what went on. You know what I mean?
No, yeah,
that's you didn't have to. Now we know what the creatures are.
Right,
and
right.
It was none of that.
No, it wasn't.
It was just being safe.
Yep.
And that made it a very good ending.
It sure did.
That way. And it made it really done really well. But overall, I thought this was a very, very finely made movie of a book, and I can imagine how the book was.
Another thing is too, that I was thinking about, they couldn't travel at night.
What do you mean?
Because it seemed like everything happened in the daytime.
Right.
It didn't say nothing about night. The things the creatures, you had to see them. You couldn't see. Was it a possibility you could see them at night?
Yeah. See, I don't know.
See, that was another thing.
So there's just so much unknown that was in it.
I mean, because that means I would have traveled my ass at night.
Yeah, because
without light.
Because I couldn't see them anyway.
Exactly.
And even though they may have known I was there, how do they reveal themselves at night if you can't see at night? You know what I mean? And there was really no electricity, or I don't know. It was just odd. So that was, I never thought about that. I mean,
Yeah.
because if you can't see at night, then you wouldn't be able to see them.
Yep.
And they never figured out how they appeared. We saw how they appeared. When the leaves started swirling.
Yeah, they show shadows,
like
some shadows.
And then,
like
but we saw that. But they never knew when it was coming. You know what I mean? They never knew that, because that means you would have had to see it. And if you couldn't see it, then that would have been the case.
Yeah, that's why I said, I love the ending. The overall movie was good. I had, some questions about, like you said, was that a house, a different house? Because they kept moving. I mean, they went from one house to another house. So, you didn't know where they were at. You know,
how did they get there?
Yeah.
How did they continue to get food and stuff like that?
Yeah, you see they salvage, certain areas, certain houses, but that's about it. I mean, this one we can't give a score to, or you want to.
No, it's a movie. It's not a series.
Yeah.
So we don't do series.
Okay.
We do movies.
Right. So this one, I would have to say I would give it a 6.
Okay. So I said a 7. And the reason why I said 7 is because I like the concept all the way around, because this is something they didn't do special effects, but it was something that you needed to pay attention to. It was horror in a certain point, but it didn't really do it to be gross or whatever in that way. But the thought of, if you see it, you will kill yourself.
Right.
But they never let you see what it looked like.
Right.
Now, the only way you saw what it looks like was when that guy he took out all his drawings.
Right. And that's how you seen what he looked like from his
because
drawings.
he saw them.
Right.
Because he was crazy as fuck.
Right.
He was one of the crazy people. So that's the way that looked like. But it was very, very, and that's why I said 7. I think it was the concept of it all, and they did a decent job. I think they really did a decent job with that, but not great.
Well, see, that's why
too many plot holes.
Right, and that's why I gave it a 6, because the first thing I was curious about at night. That's why I gave it a 6, because everything we seen was daytime.
Yep.
It had everything was all, the windows was covered, the shades were down. I said, okay, what happened at night?
Yeah, and they never explained that.
No.
So if it would have been at night, and then it was like, oh, he went out at night and he still was able to see him, then you would be like, oh, got that answer.
But see, again, there was no electricity. That's what apparently there wasn't.
Apparently, yeah.
Right. So again, that's the reason why I gave it a 6. I mean, if it wasn't for that, I would have gave it a higher score.
I mean, you got strange criteria. The fact that you don't know where they came from, you didn't know where it started, that was fine. But because you didn't know about night, that's why you gave it a 6.
Because honestly, truthfully, they could probably have gotten escape at night.
Escape to where?
Okay, he got taking that raft down there.
But what about before that?
I mean, there was plenty of things they could have done at night. I'm just saying that's how I seen it.
Sorry. No, I got you. I'm just saying your criteria of what you thought was important, and to me, I think it was a bit important of where the fuck did it come from? Is that, is it from space? Was something created? Was it whatever? You don't know what the fuck it is. Or it was there. And as it was there, it started making people go fucking suicidal. But 6 and 7. So really, I think this was if you like the different kind of horror movies with a emotional side, a psychological side of how a person's well-being and how they see life and to make themselves better, and to find themselves, this was interesting. That's why I said Sandra Bullock was really, really good in there. As the main character, she's really the focal point of how you should follow this movie. Everybody else was pretty much surrounding that supported her, but she's the standout. And if it wasn't for her, or if they would have had another main character, I'm not sure if I would have ranked it this high. I may not even liked it, but yeah. But Bird Box on Netflix. It was released in theaters on November 12th, and then Netflix. No, it had a limited release on the 14th, and then Netflix released it on the 21st. So you got a little change in between there, but that's it. Anything else I missed out?
No, babe.
Sure, that's Bird Box on Netflix, and you're listening to Fade to Black Cinema every Wednesday. Every Wednesday, we take a look at either TV series or movies or TV movies, and we try to get a combination on and bring to you with our opinions, because we love to see movies, especially things with different concepts. So Urban Lifestyle Cafe is our old podcast, and it's moved to Fade to Black Cinema, but you can find them on both ends. So if you find that one, that's part of our movie podcast, or Bougie Black Bro, and you'll get the newest podcast on there. So take a look at that and check us out every Wednesday. So thanks for stopping by, and we will see you next time on Fade to Black Cinema. Bye.
Bye.